Hello, hello, hello. The Memorial is over. We have the RBC Canada next week. And right in the middle, that's where you find us. Welcome back to Making the Turn. What an awesome tournament we had last weekend at Memorial, at Muirfield Village. Congratulations to JT Poston. Yeah, Toby, any thoughts from that tournament last weekend?
I unfortunately did not get to watch most of Sunday's round, but I caught the end of the playoff and a couple highlights coming down the back nine. There was one point where it was probably the most stacked leaderboard I've seen. Everyone was through 16 holes, tied at 11 under. You had the likes of Wyndham, Sam Burns, Tommy Fleetwood, obviously Gerard and Poston. This is what you asked for in a tourney. This was absolute cinema.
Yeah, 100%. I think so. On Saturday, after the unfortunate thunderstorm came through, they sent all the players home for the day, and they told Poston and Gerard, "You're gonna have to play 30 holes tomorrow and see if you can win your first signature event." I honestly, I thought it was over for those guys once the third round got delayed till Sunday. But come out Sunday morning, 7:30 on the East Coast. Poston and Gerard kind of cruised through the rest of the rounds. I think they both shoot around even par on Saturday, but they both look pretty in control. And then you see Sam Burns at the par 5 11th. This is Sunday morning, still the third round. He's in the right rough in the woods, and he decides he's gonna try to go for it, not go for it for the green, but hit a low, maybe 4 or 5 iron out of the deep rough back to the fairway. Hits the tree, comes back to his feet, and then what does he do? He decides to go for it again. Same shot shape, smacks the tree. This time he gets it sort of running through the fairway, but it goes through the fairway into a creek. Now he's hitting 5 from like 200 yards out. Somehow makes a 7, but when you look at this final leaderboard here with Sam Burns at 10 under and the leaders in the playoff at 12 under, I mean, those two tree strikes are going to come back to haunt him there. But it was a fantastic Sunday. Let's talk about JT Poston and what he's been up to this season, because this kind of came out of nowhere, Toby. I don't know how you feel about Posty, but it was his 4th career win. Obviously, his first signature event. Very impressive that it was at Memorial. But yeah, what do you think about Posty?
Yeah, I've always known about this guy. I mean, he's been on tour a while. Always just kind of regarded as a good putter. Wasn't really familiar with the rest of his game. I love his swing. He's just so like upright, even in his putting stroke, so upright. Keeps everything in front of him. You know, after watching this tourney, I'm surprised he hasn't been in contention more. And yeah, really excited that he got this win.
Absolutely. I think the Postman, of course, he delivers this past weekend, but I mean, no one saw this coming. Let's look at his recent results to see if we can find any clues here. I mean, he has 0 top 20s on the year. He's missed a lot of cuts. Missed the cut at the PGA Championship, 35th at the Charles Schwab last week. I mean, this was kind of out of the blue at a really tough course. I think his round on Friday, he gained 9 strokes to the field, which was either a course record or a tournament record. It was like the second best round on tour this season, but all in all, Posty with an incredible, well-rounded performance, was hitting fairways, hitting greens, making the putts he needed to. But I think the real winner, at least from a fanhood point of view at this tournament, was Ryan Gerard. What an incredible 4 days he put together to get himself into that playoff. I think he's just all around getting better at every element of his game, and he is ready to go on a back half of the season charge. There was also a funny moment. I don't know if you want to tell the people that didn't hear about it, but there was a funny moment on the 18th tee box in regulation right before the playoff. Gerard has a 1-stroke lead on Poston. They're playing together, and you wanted to walk us through what happened there, Toby?
Yeah, so basically this was one of the funniest moments I've seen on tour this year. Gerard steps up, pumps his drive, and a fan yells, "Get in the bunker!" And he just goes, he picks up his tee and walks off and goes, "It's not going in the bunker, dog." Just in his face, got me so fired up.
And he strikes it down the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, right down the middle.
And he chucks his tee in the general direction of the chirper.
This guy's just such a dog. Like we haven't seen this with, I mean, in general, the game of golf. Like there's not a lot of fiery characters, and there wasn't any like bad intent. He was just like so dialed in. I love this. I want to see more of this. Gerard's one of my new favorite players, honestly. I'm curious what you think on how this course played. Obviously, first couple days were a little different than the weekend, but yeah, curious what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I think we saw, I mean, one of the absolutely toughest tests of golf this season, major, non-major, anywhere, on Thursday and Friday at Muirfield. Jack Nicklaus had he had a vision of how he wanted the course to play this week, and it came to fruition when we saw the fairways running out. The rough was 4 or 5 inches. The greens were absolutely dried to the core, and guys were shooting some high numbers, except for Gerard and Poston on Thursday and Friday. But unfortunately, the chaos ended on Saturday into Sunday when the rainstorm came down, completely changed the course, and it honestly changed the direction of, I guess, where the tournament was going. It almost looked like there's only a handful of guys, just Gerard, Poston. You can maybe give Wyndham and Spawn credit for being right there on Saturday, right before the conditions changed. But once the greens were soaked, it kind of became a dart fest, and guys were hitting it close and making putts and moving up the leaderboard, which is good from an entertainment point of view. But I think, and it's good Poston ended up winning eventually, but I think for Poston's sake, he had worked so hard to build such a huge lead on a really challenging golf course where it's so easy to make bogeys. It's so easy to, I mean, it's really hard to make birdies too. So he had built that huge lead on a hard, difficult, challenging golf course. And then it becomes easy. And guys start going low on Sunday. I think Wyndham and Fleetwood shot 4 and 5 under, respectively. And guys were going at his lead, and it made it harder. But I think all in all, Muirfield, one of the best events on tour every year. They should never change it. And even after Jack, unfortunately, passes away, I think they should continue in his honor. And it's a great tournament. But that does bring us to our brand new segment on the show, the Major Debate. The way this segment is going to work is Toby and I are both going to pick 3 golfers to present to the other person and their over-under future majors won. So, for example, let's say Bryson has 2 majors and someone says Bryson, then you would set the line and the other person would pick the over, the under. Toby, you want to get started with a first golfer?
Yeah, I got a couple on my list here. I'm going to start out with American Patriot, Cameron Young. Now, I was curious. I kind of want to set the line high. I'm going to go with 1.5 majors for his career, just because, you've got the likes of Scotty and Rory still playing super well. And yeah, 1.5 majors for Cameron Young.
American Patriot, Cameron Young, 1.5 majors. I will take the under on that. Believe it or not, we both are pretty big Cameron Young fans. We respect his game. We both think he's a God-fearing patriot. I don't think Cam has the ability to keep his putter hot for years on end. I think he found the hot putter for like a 2 or 3 month stretch early 2026, and he rode that. Obviously the win at the Players and the lead at the Masters, which he did not win that event. But give me the under 1.5 on Cam Young majors. I would love for him to get one. Don't get me wrong there, but I think he will fail to reach 2 majors in his career. So that brings me to my first golfer. Everyone saw this one coming. Scotty Scheffler has 4 majors currently. He is, 28, 29 years old? And my line is 7.5. You might think that's low, but just seeing how Scotty's attitude towards the game has shifted since becoming a father, I'm going to set the line at 7.5. So what do you think about that, Toby?
Hate to do this too, but just initial reactions, I'm going to have to hammer the under. I think, and I'll explain this. I think once he gets the U.S. Open, I mean, to be fair, we said this with Rory, that like once he gets the Masters, he's going to fall off. He proved us wrong when won another Masters. But I just think Scotty Scheffler, he is such, like you said, such a family man. I think once he wins the U.S. Open, like, look at his resume. He's got nothing else to win. Like, let's be honest. He's won the top, 10 events you could think of.
Olympic gold, too.
Yeah, Olympic gold, all the majors once he wins the U.S. Open. And I just think once that happens, he's not going to have that drive as much. He's going to want to focus on being a good parent. And yeah, I also, to further explain that, I think he's going to win. I think his game's suited for a U.S. Open, and I think he's going to win one at least in the next couple of years. So I think by 32, he'll have the Grand Slam, he'll have everything, and yeah, I'm gonna hammer the under. Sorry, Scotty.
I agree with you there. I think Scotty's game is fine for Shinnecock, but I think they're gonna do a U.S. Open at Pebble in the next few years, and that course is just, he made the insane rally this year on Sunday. He made the insane Sunday run at Pebble this year to almost catch Colin, but I do think his game is suited for Pebble, and he could get that career Grand Slam there. Toby, who's your next major debate player?
Yeah, this is going to come off the back of a clip that was circulating this week. I'm going to go Jackson Koivin. If you're not familiar with the clip, his teammates were talking about a round they were playing, and I think they had 2 holes to play, and he was man, I'm striking it so well right now. I feel like I'm gonna make everything. He had a 9 iron and a pitching wedge on back-to-back holes and hit the flagstick twice in a row and is like, damn, I got to stop aiming at pins. Like he is that good. I think I'm gonna go with over zero point 0.5 majors. But yeah, curious what your thoughts are.
Toby took the player right out of my mouth. We hadn't discussed who our players were pre-podcast, but I also had Koiven written down as one of my players. What was the line you said again?
I'm just gonna go zero point 0.5 majors. Does he
Point
get one in
5.
his
Well,
career?
my answer is obvious here because I had set my line for Toby at 3.5. Jackson Koiven is going to win majors. This kid is set to be a star. Maybe one of the most decorated collegiate golf careers we've ever seen. I think he's won like half of the events he's started this season as I think he's a junior, or is he? I don't. He might be a senior at this point,
He's a junior, I think.
but he's a junior. But every single time we see Jackson Koiven enter a PGA Tour event, he is finishing top 20. I think full stop. I think he's always finished top 20 when he gets his rare amateur PGA Tour start, and it's really impressive. Like, there's not too much else to say about it, but I do think a player with this much potential, and he's clearly got like a good head on his shoulders. Like he doesn't need to go straight pro and start making money. He wants to enjoy the college experience, and yeah, I think we'll see Koiven take down at least 4 majors in his like long career ahead.
To clarify that I was going zero point 0.5 majors because obviously we've seen the likes of players like him that have just balled out in college and have tried to make that turn pro. Thinking of like Nick Dunlap. Yeah, and it hasn't, and Luke Clanton could be on that list.
Yeah.
Just great talents, and it hasn't really turned out in their pro career just yet. So yeah, but I do agree that this he has everything he needs to win many majors in his career.
All right, my next player for you, Toby, on the major debate is the one and only Ludwig Oberg. We have talked about this man a lot on this show, a lot positive, a lot negative, but we know this guy is one of the most elite ball strikers we've seen maybe ever. He's got a streaky putter. He is a Sunday choker. Toby, I'm setting his line at a measly zero point 0.5 majors for his career. Can he get over the line a single time? What do you think about Ludwig Oberg?
Oof, this is a tough one, honestly. Like you said, he has everything. I mean, I've been his fan since day one. I would be mad at myself if I didn't pick the over. I'm gonna go the over, but he needs to change something. Like the way he's closed tournaments. I don't know if it's just something like internally, something mental, but I cannot see him having these like Sunday performances in majors and see him winning more than one, or like winning any. I just think, maybe like go see a mental coach, because obviously like he has everything in his game. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go over. I think, and I'll expand on that. I think he can go and win a hard event. I want to say like an Open. I think he'll do well in an Open maybe, or if not that, I think he's going to win the Masters. Yeah, honestly, I think he'll win the Masters at some point. He's obviously played great there, and as we know, Augusta is a sticky golf course, as you like to say. I think he'll get a Masters, and I really hope he does.
I mean, yeah, once Rory and Scotty stop winning Masters, who else is going to start winning them? So we'll see where that ends up. Oberg, Toby's taking the over on Oberg at zero point 0.5. He's going to win a major one day, and I will not be betting on him when that does happen because I am so tired of wasting my money on Ludwig Oberg. Toby, who is your last major debate player for me?
I have two options lined up. I think I'm gonna go Justin Rose. Does Justin Rose win another major? And obviously he doesn't have a lot of time left in his career, but at the same time it feels like this guy won't stop playing golf until he wins another major. So yeah, Justin Rose winning. So he's already won one at Marion in 2013. Does he add another to his tally?
I am a pretty big fan of Justin Rose. I respect his, work ethic at such an old age, at least for the game of golf. I think Justin Rose will not win another major in his career. I think his last 2 runs at Augusta were maybe his last chances. I think it's kind of the club switch to McLaren kind of foreshadows where he's at least in his mind, in his career. I think being willing to, he got paid a boatload of money to obviously sport those clubs, but I think being willing to switch to McLaren clubs at this age in his career means he's kind of ready to be a little bit less serious, if you see what I'm getting at. I don't think he's going to stop trying his absolute hardest every time he tees it up at a major. I think he could care less about the Siggies that are, I guess, not either Riviera or Muirfield, but I just don't think Justin Rose has it in him to maintain the standard it takes to really go and get a major, especially at 46 or 47 years old, which he currently is. Justin Rose, no more majors for him, unfortunately. Love the guy, love the attitude, love the work ethic, but I'm taking the under on Justin Rose. So, my last player for you, Toby, is Jon Rahm, currently sitting with two majors. I mean, generational flusher. A lot of people love the guy. Absolutely despised his decision to go to live, but he currently has two. I'm setting the line at 3.5. What do you think about Jon Rahm, Toby, moving forward?
Pulling up something right here. I'm looking up his age. He's 31 years old. Who knows? I mean, we've talked about this in previous podcasts, but I think the PGA Tour should get him back ASAP. If that's the case, I think this guy's going to win at least two more. Just statistically, he like you said, he's a flusher. This guy knows how to compete. He smacks the ball, and if you look at his stats prior to going to Live Golf, he was set up. Like if he didn't make that switch, I think he would have had three more by now. Sorry, Scotty, but I think Rahm is. You gotta be looking at him in your rearview mirror. If this guy gets back in form, in PGA Tour form, look out. Obviously, he is a little older, but I think he's got a bunch of years left, and he's winning another couple at least.
Agree with you there. He almost got it done literally 2 weeks ago at the PGA Championship. If it weren't for Aaron Rai going scorched earth, I think Rahm would have been right there. But that wraps up the end of the major debate segment. We are about to make the turn to the RBC Canadian Open. We are at TPC Toronto in Canadian Village, Canada. We have a par 70, 7,400 yards. We do have a cut this week, 65 players plus ties. And as you can see on the right, Toby, this course is literally the most statistically average PGA Tour course. What are we going to be looking for this week at TPC Toronto?
Yeah, just looking at this made me chuckle a little. Nothing really to pick apart in terms of stats, and when that's kind of the case, I'm just going to go with people having good form. I think the Canadian Open, it's great. We've had some great moments, like think back to Nick Taylor's winning putt, hometown Canadian winning it. But yeah, I think just people who play well going into this, especially preparing for Shinnecock. Most people are treating this time of the year as like the prime PGA Tour schedule. So people are grinding right now, and whoever's game is doing well, I think they'll come out on top this week.
Yeah, and I think another thing to look at when a course doesn't have, or I guess when a course doesn't ask any particular questions about your game, I think one of the most important things to look at is putting, as putting can be a super fickle aspect of a player's game. Guys will go on month-long cold streaks. They'll get hot for a week or two at a time. But I think when you attack a event where the course is very statistically average, you want to look for guys that have been putting well combined with the approach buckets that players found success at this course in the past. So we only have 1 year of data for this course, TPC Toronto, from last year. But there were two approach buckets that were very key to the players that did well last year doing well. Cameron Young, Ryan Fox, and Sam Burns were a few of the names that played well. But you need to be hitting your wedges very well inside 125 yards. That's one of the main approach buckets. There's going to be a lot of wedge opportunities, as well as you skip the mid irons, go straight to the long irons. There's a lot of 200-yard plus shots. I think two of the four par threes have 200-plus yard tee shots. And I think those two approach buckets combined with a hot putter are the recipe to doing well at TPC Toronto. There is going to be some wind, not some wind. There's going to be a lot of wind on Thursday and Friday. I think a lot of people expected this event to be a very low-scoring affair, similar to last year with the winner being at minus 18. But I think we could see a similar winning score to what we saw last week at Memorial. If the wind truly blows at 25, 30 miles an hour on Thursday and Friday, we might not have a leader that's past double digits going into the weekend. So I'm looking forward to that if that is the case. Let's talk about who's playing this week, Toby. You want to introduce us to Tommy Fleetwood, the favorite?
Yeah, he's had a weird streak of recent finishes. You see like T52, T33 for someone of his caliber. Obviously the miscut too. For someone of his caliber,
That's a miscut at the PGA Championship, by the way.
Yeah, he's got to be playing better. Wow, I see that you put full field event loser in this.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, I just think his game is pretty flawless, but he just doesn't seem like a gamer. With that being said, I have full faith in Tommy Fleetwood. Also gonna go straight to Sam Burns. I think either Tommy Fleetwood or Sam Burns is winning this, and if they don't, they should just withdraw from Shinnecock. Honestly, if they can't win this tournament, they're not winning the U.S. Open. Yeah, the Canadian Open's just like it's like a nice warm up for the U.S. Open, and if you can't beat the Canadians, then what are we doing? Curious what your thoughts are on the rest of these field notables, or thoughts on Tommy Fleetwood and Sam Burns.
I will back you up there with the Fleetwood and Sam Burns needing to win this week. They are both about 10 to 15 to 1. I think it's one of the stronger fields we've seen for the Canadian Open historically, but that doesn't change the fact that elite players, quote unquote elite players like Fleetwood and Sam Burns, they should be winning in these types of fields more often than not. So I can back you there. I think they definitely have no chance at Shinny if they can't win this week. But that brings me to Matt Fitzpatrick. He has lost his putter. You can see his insane string of results there. First place, 18th, back to back wins, and then he's just been kind of coasting the past three events. And that is mainly, if not all, because of the putter. He's hitting the ball like he has been all season, getting almost a stroke around to the field with his approach. But we'll see if Fitzpatrick brings the putter this week. If he does not, he has no chance. But the player who I think has an incredible chance this week is Wyndham Clark. He is one of the most unique players maybe we have seen the past 10 years. He's one of those guys. He either, if he's in a down period where he missed a bunch of cuts and he's not finishing well, not putting well, he's just like the least talked about kind of pushover that nobody's thinking about. But he does go on these 1 month long, absolutely mega heaters. Obviously, when he won the U.S. Open in 2023 at LA, he had also won or finished second to Scotty at Pebble that year in a kind of a short time frame. So we're kind of seeing that again from Wyndham. He wins at TPC Craig Ranch, finishes third last week at Memorial. Two completely different courses. One, it's a -30 winner, and the other one, it's a -12 playoff that he almost finds his way into. It just shows that when Wyndham gets it going, he's one of the most elite players on this planet. And it'd be hard to argue against him being the best player in the world as of this moment, the way he's hitting the ball. I think he's gaining 2 strokes to the field per round on approach, which is just otherworldly. Wyndham Clark could win this event this week very easily, and I would not be surprised if he did so. But that brings me to Colin Morikawa, back from injury, back from his wife's child's birth. I don't know what to think about Colin. I think if he's fully healthy, then he's totally viable to perform this week, contend, whatever. If he's just back to kind of get the swing loosened up before the U.S. Open, that's totally fine on his end too. And I could see him finishing 30th. But we will see which version of Colin shows up to RBC Canadian Open this week. But that brings us to the blueprint for the week. Once again, this is not financial advice. Toby and I do our research and provide the results to you guys. Please make educated financial decisions. Toby, do you want to start us off with your first matchup for this week?
Yeah, first off, excited that Brooks Koepka's in this field. It's been a weird season with him just because of the nature of his PGA Tour status, where he's not showing up in these signature events and then pops up at weeks like the Canadian Open. I think just looking at Shinnecock next week, this is Brooks Koepka's time. We know what he does at majors, especially majors in New York. I think Brooks Koepka is going to get hot over the next month, and I'm loving Brooks Koepka over Nikolai Horgard at -105. Then going down to Tony Finau over Davis Thompson. Davis Thompson is one of the most, I don't even know like how he gets the respect that he does. One of the most overrated players in my opinion. Just look at his attitude. He always seems pissed off. He's one of my least favorite golfers. And Tony Finau, on the other hand, one of the most likable golfers who's been getting back in form. Just also looking at this course, looks like the rough won't be up too much, and Tony Finau can just bomb his driver, play from there. I think Tony Finau over Davis Thompson's a great pick. So yeah, Tony Finau -108 over Davis Thompson. Jordan, what do you have cooking up for this week?
I'm going to go right back to Alex Noren. A lot of you may have seen my segment on Noren last week talking about his consistent form. Hadn't really seen the breakout week where he does finally finish top 10. And as I predicted, it was at Memorial where Alex Noren finished T9 He honestly was in contention for a little bit on Sunday when Poston dropped a few strokes on the front nine. Norn was right there at 6 or 7 under when the lead had gone to 10, I believe. And so Norn was in contention. I think, as I mentioned, it's the consistent form over a couple month window that you see in guys where it's totally reasonable for that guy to finish top 10 every once in a while if he's playing that consistently. So I'm going to Norin in this very good stretch of his 2026 over Shane Lowry. Not too much to say about Shane Lowry. I think Lowry's going to play fine this week, but I think Norin's ceiling is enough to cover Shane Lowry this week at minus 110. But that brings me to Tomers over Matt Fitzpatrick. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, Matt Fitzpatrick has lost his putter, and I just don't see a world where Fitzpatrick can play better than Tommy this week with a cold putter. I mean, that was part of what propelled Matt Fitzpatrick to such an awesome, I guess, middle of the 2026 season was the scorching putter, and it is completely gone. 180, it's cold. Nothing else to say about it. Fleetwood at minus 116 over Matt Fitzpatrick. But let's get into some finishing positions. Toby, why are you interested in Bud Cauley and Victor Hovland to finish top 20 and top 10 respectively?
I'm gonna start with Victor Hovland, one of the most likable guys on tour. He has the game to play well, but he kind of loses it sometimes. And I'm looking at this week as a perfect example of a week where you have like a so-so field, and again in preparation for the U.S. Open, I think Victor Hovland's been dialing in his game. I'm looking at Victor Hovland top 10 at plus 270. And kind of another guy who hasn't been talked about a lot, Bud Cauley. Yeah, he's not really like a star, but you look at his performances and his stats, and he's just a solid player. For fantasy, I always see him top of the charts for value. So Bud Cauley just consistently sneaks into the top 20, doesn't get talked about. I think Bud Cauley top 20 this week is a great bet. Yeah, kind of a similar guy of recent. Tell me about Andrew Putnam.
Andrew Putnam. Well, first off, big congratulations to Andrew Putnam as he played 43 holes of golf on Monday. I believe in Oregon at one of the U.S. Open qualifiers, golf's longest day. I guess before we get into Putnam, let's talk about golf's longest day, Toby. I think, honestly, it's one of the more underrated aspects of the game we know and love. I think having one of the majors be open to literally anybody that wants to tee it up and grind their way to a low handicap and then enter local events and then earn your way into the longest day in whatever city you choose. What do you think about the longest day, Toby?
Yeah, again, I love the system too. Like think of FA Cup in soccer. You give guys who, play the game for fun, obviously get very good, but they just go out there and they have a chance to compete with the pros. You look at the list of players at these qualifiers, you'll have guys like Max Homa, Andrew Putnam, like guys who are playing majors every year. And then you just have random guys like that. That could be me or you one day. So I love it. And then golf's longest day, just making it like this event on a Monday, 2 weeks before the U.S. Open, I think is awesome. A great test of golf. Like it shows really who's grinding, who can grind out a win. And if you qualify for those spots, you definitely deserve to play in the U.S. Open. I'm curious what you think on the coverage though, because I didn't watch most of it, but do you think like they need to improve that at all? What are your thoughts?
Well, there wasn't much to watch. I mean, the broadcast started at noon, and all these guys are halfway through their 36-hole days at their respective courses. Broadcast starts at noon, and there's a lot of pundits in their desks talking about what's going on across the country, but we're not seeing any shots. We're just seeing, I guess, sideline interviews. We're seeing the pundits make some claims about guys' chances moving into the back 18. But what I think golf's longest day should be is a full day. You show, I mean, you almost set it up like a normal tour event. You go send a couple cameramen to each site and have them, I guess, even just follow the PGA Tour guys that are playing. Obviously, it'd be hard to cover all 100 guys that teed up at each location, but I think golf's longest day needs to have a better broadcast, and it's one of the coolest parts of the game we play. I think the ability for anybody to qualify for a major, given that they play well enough, is such an awesome aspect of this day, and it is not covered as well as it could be. So yeah, I think the broadcast was bad, and they need to send cameramen to all the locations. But bringing it back to Andrew Putnam, he was actually playing against I don't how do I put this respectfully? He was just playing against a run of the mill dude. They went to a 9-hole playoff. Obviously, the run of the mill dude is a stick, but they went to a 9-hole playoff. They had to play two of the 9 holes the following day, Tuesday morning, I believe, and Putnam did get the job done. So, congrats to Putnam, first of all, for qualifying for Shinnecock. But moving on to this week, I think he carries that, I guess, positive attitude surrounding his game from the qualifier into this week. We know him as one of the best approach players, especially from inside 125 yards, as I mentioned, is needed at this course. I think Putnam will kind of just flush it around this course, and I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he has that much of an upside to his game these days, but I think he finished T6 last year at this course, same event. I think I don't see any reason why he can't finish top 20 this year at such a ridiculous price of plus 270. But that does bring me to Sam Burns finishing in the top 10 at plus 144. We just saw Sam Burns stay in contention for 3 days at the Memorial in really strong field, obviously, signature event, Jack's course. And now we're moving to the RBC Canada. It's a weaker field. It's a strong field for this event, but it's a weaker field. Sam Burns is one of the best players in this field. He played well here last year. He probably wants revenge. I don't see a world where he doesn't finish top 10 this week. But as you had mentioned before, Toby, why just give us one more thought on Fleetwood and Burns being your outrights this week.
Yeah, I didn't mention this earlier, but June Sam Burns is something to behold.
June Sam Burns.
Think back to last year, Oakmont. Like something about it. This guy just loves June.
Well, it was the RBC last year into Oakmont. Same, like he's in contention at both events in June. June Sam Burns is different. Go ahead.
I think, and I kind of harped on this earlier, but I think this is just the peak of the season. Everyone's in form. They've had enough time to tweak stuff in the off season and go through a bunch of tournaments, including 2 majors, to see where their game's at. And yeah, this is just when people have it going. I think I said this earlier, but in my mind, I just see Sam Burns or Tommy Fleetwood winning this. 2 people who have pretty complete games when they're playing well, which they are, because obviously they finished very, very well last week. And when they have it going well, they're balling. So I think, especially at a field like this, a course like this, where it's really anyone's game, they're playing well, look to either one of them to win. I definitely think it's worth sprinkling at least at Tommy Fleetwood 11-1 and Sam Burns 12-1. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about your outrights.
Wyndham Clark could very well win again this week at the RBC Canadian Open. He is probably hitting the ball better than just about anybody on the planet right now, gaining 2 strokes per round on approach to the field. And a little, like, there's something going on with, like, his mantra, his aura. He's on the broadcast this past weekend at Memorial. He's talking to every shot. Like, he's being cocky. If he misses his shot by like 5-10 feet, like if he hits it to 20 feet instead of inside 10, he's pissed off on the broadcast. Like he's that in control of his golf ball right now. He's one of the best approach players the past 20 rounds, if not the best. And the putter's starting to roll for Wyndham Clark. So I think getting 25-1 for Wyndham Clark versus Fleetwood and Burns, I mean, no disrespect to those picks, but getting 25-1, double the price on Wyndham Clark, who is hitting the ball better than anyone on this God's green earth right now, is a great play. But a little bit on a different note, Christopher Raitan, I believe that's how it's pronounced. He won, what was it that he won? The Truist?
Yeah, Quail Hollow.
Christopher Raitan won at Quail Hollow at the Truist signature event. His first PGA Tour win, also his rookie season on the PGA Tour. He's quietly putting together one of the better seasons of anybody on tour. Let's pull up his profile here really quick to confirm that. Finishes 6th last week at Memorial with a Sunday 65. I think him and Alex Fitzpatrick both shot 7 under 65s on Sunday at Memorial, partially thanks to the wetter conditions and being able to throw darts, but that's besides the point. Anyways, Raitan has won the Truist. He's finishing top 20 very often in his rookie year on the PGA Tour. Raitan's now getting respect from the books, pricing him like he's one of the elite players on this tour. Yeah, give me Christopher Raitan at plus 2,600 to win the RBC Canadian Open. So that wraps up the blueprint for this week, how Toby and I are attacking the board at the RBC Canadian Open. But the last aspect of our attack is our single entry lineups. on DraftKings. What are you doing this week, Toby, with your lineup?
Yeah, I'm sticking with it. Tommy Fleetwood and Sam Burns. One of them's winning this tourney, putting them both in the lineups. Obviously, they have a little higher ownership, but yeah, we'll take that. And obviously, Scotty's not in this tourney. It's nice to have a little bit different strategy building lineups. I think the 7K range is great for this week. A lot of big names. Going to start off with Tom Kim and Tony Finau. Both have very good value. Obviously, the upside's there. Tony Finau could easily go out and win tourneys. 7,400 too. I'll take that. Ryan Fox. I was debating between Ryan Fox and Bud Cauley. Obviously, Bud Cauley's been playing great. Like we said, top 20 merchant. But I just think Ryan Fox, coming off a win last year at this course, he knows how to poke the ball out around this course. And yeah, he's also been playing well this year. So I'll take Ryan Fox. And to round it off, this is just a total. I had 7,200 left. I was playing around with a bunch of different people. This one's just gonna go straight gut feeling. Mackenzie Hughes, Canadien, obviously at Charles Schwab, I think it was a couple weeks ago. He finished top 10 or top 20. And yeah, I just remember like when I first got into golf, Mackenzie Hughes was a great player. And I thought, wow, this guy's going to be in contention for years to come. Fell off. But yeah, I was excited to see him in contention a couple weeks ago. And who knows, kind of a wild card this week, but we'll see.
My single entry lineup this week on DraftKings, we are going to Wyndham Clark. As I have said throughout this podcast, nobody's hitting it better on the planet right now. But we also are going to Brooks Koepka. I think Brooks Koepka in June is going to be pretty legendary. I don't think he's going to win this week, but I think he's going to find he's been one of the better approach players all year on tour. I think he'll play great this week. I think he'll finish top 10. I think he's just trying to get a feel for his putter as he's been doing the past few months. If he can find that putter by next week at Shinny, like it could get weird when Brooks Koepka's in contention on Sunday at Shinny. Especially if the winning score is 2 over. Like you don't even have to putt. I mean, obviously you have to make par putts to save your score if the winning score is +2. But you don't have to be draining bombs or throwing darts to win at Shinny. Anyways, we'll talk about Shinnecock next week on the pod. But Brooks Koepka this week, he's got a great floor, top 20 minimum. But we're going to Nikolai Højgaard as well. Nikolai Højgaard is quietly having one of the better seasons of anybody on tour this year. He doesn't have any wins, but he's been finishing top 5, top 10 every other week, basically the entire season in elevated events, in weaker field events. He's just that guy. He hits the ball far. His wedge game's all right, and he's not a good putter, but when he does putt well, he's always up there on the leaderboard. We are going back to the Bo Show, one of Toby's favorite players this year. Bo Show is just a consistent cut maker. He finishes top 20 half the time when he makes the cut. Give me the Bo Show. Aldrich Potgieter. I'm going to go out on a limb this week, and especially if it gets windy, I think there may be an advantage to just bombing it anywhere you want because it's not like the rough's too punitive at this course. So I think Potgieter could go out and just bomb it, and hopefully the wind's in favorable directions for his driver. And then he just needs to hit his wedges close, which is rare for him. But if he does do that, I think Potgieter has good upside this week. And then lastly, AJ Ewart, honestly my favorite Canadian on tour right now. I think he's going to finish the best of any Canadian this week. Canada's having a down year, honestly down couple of years in golf. There hasn't been any real elite talent coming out of Canada. You could say Sudarshan Yellam-Raju's early start to 2026 was that, but he has cooled off since then. But anyways, I'm kind of going on a lower ownership route this week. This is my single entry lineup for the week. That brings us to the end of the Making the Turn podcast for this week. Any final thoughts, Toby, regarding anything RBC Canadian Open, Shinnecock, whatever you think?
I love that we both stuck Canadians in there at the final slot in our lineups. Just one thing that we forgot to mention, which is probably one of the most legendary things about this tourney, is it depends what hole. I think maybe 16 last year. The hockey arena where they get the boards and just such a cool environment. Canadians are just awesome. And yeah, that's one of the coolest just like traditions in golf. I think it's going to be a great week. This really could be anyone's ball game. I've said who I think it's going to be. But yeah, I think it's going to be another great week. And you can tell that like everyone's super pumped for Shinny next week.
And speaking of Shinny, Toby and I actually have a huge announcement to make. a first of its kind on the podcast. We are going to be boots on the ground at the Friday round at Shinnecock for the U.S. Open next week. It's going to be Toby and I's first major we've been to in person, so we're super excited for that. We are going to be doing a giveaway from the Shinnecock Pro Shop. We are probably going to grab a hat or a polo of some sort. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is leave a like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We are on Spotify, Apple, Instagram, and TikTok now. But for the giveaway, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And also write in the comments who you think is going to win the U.S. Open this year. We're looking forward to it. Boots on the ground. Thank you all so much for watching this week's episode of the Making the Turn podcast. Toby, it was a great time today. That is all from us. We will see you next week. Boots on the ground at Shinny.